So, they gave a dog a microphone. And honestly, I'm not mad about it. I've been listening to humans for years. This just makes it official. But before you wonder what a dog could possibly teach you, just remember, we invented unconditional love and naps and emotional support cuddles. So really, who better to host a mental health podcast? Anyway, welcome to Tail Talk. If life's been barking a little too loud lately, you're in the right place. Okay, quick question. Who looked at a 75-pound doodle and said, you know what he needs? A microphone. Because I just want to talk. I once barked at a houseplant. I've eaten a sock. And I still don't fully understand how Zoom works. But here we are. And honestly, a dog might be exactly who should start a mental health podcast. Because when people hear the words mental health, they brace themselves. But when they see a therapy dog, they relax. They breathe. They soften. Welcome to Tail Talk with Patrick the Therapy Doodle. Here we sit, we listen, we heal. And this first episode, it's called What the Fluff? Don't worry, that's as bad as it gets. This is a kid-friendly show. Because sometimes life doesn't make sense. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it overwhelms you. And sometimes the most honest response is, what the fluff just happened? You don't have to face that alone. When I walk into a room, something shifts. It doesn't matter if it's a hospital, a veteran event, a workplace conference, or a school. People smile, they reach out, they pet, and then they talk. About grief, about burnout, about fear, about things they haven't even said out loud yet. Comfort lowers defenses. Safety opens doors. And when people feel safe, they stay long enough to begin healing. That's why this podcast starts with a dog. Not because I have all the answers, but because comfort makes hard conversations possible. If this conversation resonates with you, tap follow or subscribe. This season, we're talking about grief, burnout, invisible struggles, and how people begin to heal. Before there was Tail Talk, before there was a microphone, there was my brother, Aiden the Hugging Golden Doodle. For 14 years, Aiden did comfort work. Hospitals, veterans, children, seniors, families sitting in rooms that felt too quiet. He had this way of leaning in, full body, no rush. Like he was saying, I'm not leaving. And people would melt. He didn't speak, but somehow he said everything. While Aiden was doing this work year after year, his handler started noticing something deeper. The comfort was powerful, but it wasn't always enough. There were gaps. Communities without access to ongoing mental health support. Families who didn't know where to turn after the visit ended. Veterans who needed sustained care. And kids who needed more than a moment of relief. Aiden opened the door, but sometimes there wasn't always a system behind it. That realization became the heartbeat of the Love and Hugs Mental Health Foundation. The foundation wasn't created because Aiden was extraordinary. It was created because the need was bigger than one dog. When we lost Aiden in December 2024, It felt like the air left the room. He wasn't just my brother. He was a symbol of safety. And when people looked at me and said, "Patrick, it's your turn," I didn't feel brave. I felt small. But I also felt something else. Responsibility. Not to replace him. No one could. But to continue the work. To sit where he once sat. To listen like he listened. To help others begin healing. This podcast exists because of him. And every time we help someone feel less alone, that's part of his legacy. Now, before we go any further, there's something important you should know. I may be the face, but there's a human behind the voice, and he has a story too. Let me introduce you to my human voice, Trent Whitfield. Hello, everyone. I'm Trent, and I'm the voice of Patrick, and your co-host here at Till Talk. But I'm not just reading lines. Mental health isn't theoretical for me. It's personal. I've lived with seizures most of my life, and what people don't see is everything that comes with it. The anxiety, the unpredictability, the constant question in the back of your mind. Will today be the day? Living with a chronic condition, you learn how to be strong and how to never give up. But it also teaches you fear and sometimes isolation. There'll be days where you look fine on the outside, but internally, you're carrying something heavy. Invisible struggles are still real struggles. That's why this podcast matters to me. If Patrick can create a space for someone to feel understood, to exhale, to feel less alone, then lending my voice to this mission is one of the most meaningful things I can do. And we're not doing this alone. I'm honored to introduce my co-host, licensed therapist and mental health advocate, Dr. Nikole Scott.
Thank you so much, Trent and Patrick. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be part of this conversation. It's really important work. What I love about it is that we're leading with comfort, and leading with comfort reduces intimidation. So many people avoid mental health conversations because they assume they have to be dramatic or heavy, and they don't. Healing begins with something a lot simpler, feeling safe enough to be honest. So when you see a therapy dog like Aiden and now Patrick, when you see them enter the room, your nervous system starts to regulate a little bit more. Your barriers start to soften. And in that calm space, we're more willing to reflect and maybe speak and begin the healing journey. So this podcast, which I'm really excited to be part of, is about normalizing those conversations. It's about validating people on their journeys. When we talk openly about things like grief and burnout and trauma and fear, we reduce shame, and reducing that shame is really important. Thank you so much. Back to you, Patrick.
So, be sure to join us as we talk about grief, burnout, chronic conditions and invisible struggles, veterans and invisible wounds, facing fears, young adults navigating pressure, workplace stress and boundaries. Because healing, it isn't one conversation, it's a process, and we're in it together. If our conversation touched you in any way, please tap follow so you don't miss what's next. There will be squirrel jokes, snack commentary, and possibly mild chaos. Because laughter lightens heavy things. And when things feel lighter, healing feels possible. This podcast supports the Love and Hugs Mental Health Foundation. Every listen helps expand therapy dog programs and increase access to mental health support where it's needed most. You being here genuinely matters. If someone comes to mind who might need comfort today, share this episode with them. Remember, when life makes you say, "What the fluff?" sit, listen, heal. I'm Patrick, and we're just getting started. If you'd like to go deeper with us, we've created a community on Patreon. You'll find behind-the-scenes videos, extended conversations, and a closer look at our work through the Love and Hugs Foundation.